You are Locked On Clippers POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, that started out good and did not end up the same way. I do appreciate Ty Lue taking timeouts down 28. But that is like throwing deck chairs off the Titanic. Welcome to the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. This one is done. This one is in the refrigerator, as Chick Hearn used to say. I am Pete Fox, covering sports in LA, dating back to 2007 for ESPN LA and NBC Sports Radio. The Clippers got off to a really good start in this one. We'll talk about some of the things they were doing well that helped them get off to a good start. We're also going to talk about what went wrong when they fell apart in the third quarter. Got absolutely smoked by the Thunder, 42-20 in the third. And the thing that always comes up to me, and for those of you that are here for Clippers postcasts on a regular basis, you're probably tired of me getting into this, but we're going to get into why in the hell Clippers management traded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Paul George. I'm sorry. I hate to be that revisionist history guy, but I'm going to be. I don't get how that deal happened. I don't get it. Juan is upset as well. 14 frowny faces that are very red. Ty Lue, fuera. That means out, right? Fire Ty Lue. Fuera is out, right? Fuera. I'm going to look that up. I'm pretty sure that means out. F-U-E-R-A. Fuera. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Juan. Give me my quick little Spanish lesson for today. I don't know. Maybe. That's a good call. Interesting conversation. I guess we can get into a little bit. Is this team not playing great because of Ty Lue? I don't know. That's a tough one. Give me a minute to kind of ponder that. Let's get back to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Paul George. Can we please? I mean, not only did Michael Winger, who was the GM at the time in 2019, trade Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Paul George, he gave up 5 first-round picks. I'm just like, how do you miss that badly on a guy, right? That, it's okay. He's not what we think he is. He's good. He's promising, but he's not, we don't think he's going to turn into this. That's a huge mistake. I mean, I don't know what Michael Winger's doing now, but I'm sure that every time the Thunder play the Clippers, he twitches. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. I mean, that is just like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to me is in the running for MVP of the league at this point. He's the president of the Washington Wizards. Well, now we know why the Wizards have a grand total of 6 wins or whatever it is. Oh boy. I mean, it's the miss on that deal is one of the worst ever. Look at that guess. 6 wins. Got that right. That's what the Wizards have. Michael Winger in charge of basketball operations over there. Yeah, this to me is just one of those things where, how do you not know what? I mean, even if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't turn into what he's turned into, he makes the Clippers better, right? I can't understand how they could not forecast what he was going to turn into. I mean, it happens, I guess. There are probably other stories out there of guys that teams missed on that were like, yeah, we don't think we need this guy any longer, and he leaves and turns into a superstar. But to me, the deal went south. The deal became a rotten banana when you threw in 5 first-round picks for Paul George. because Kawhi Leonard said, hey, I want Paul George. At the time, I was like, I'm sorry, you did what? Paul George is a good player, right? Not as good now as he was then. As you can see, the Clippers are pretty much the same team now as they were when they had him last year. Obviously, Kawhi's still out. So, yeah, you could also come back to say, really? Did we have to spend all that money on Kawhi Leonard? Guy barely plays. I'm sorry to say that, but I'm starting to get frustrated now, right? You play like this in the first quarter, in the first half of this game, where, by the way, the top scorer on your team, Norm Powell, did not make a basket, and you build a 16-point lead. So you could see in a microcosm kind of what they're capable of, right? This is a good team. And when and if they ever get Kawhi Leonard back on the floor, they're going to be markedly better. But even having James Harden out, as he was tonight, for just the second time of the season, I don't think it was that big of a thing. Like, yeah, you probably would have been better, and this game wouldn't have been as ugly as it is now here in the fourth quarter, down 112-89. If James Harden's playing, it's probably not that bad. But how in the heck does Norm Powell go 0 for 9? That is just unheard of. 1 of 11 at this point. 0 for 5 from beyond the arc. Some of it, a large part of it, has to be credited to the Oklahoma City Thunder defense. This team, to me, is what you want your team to be, the Thunder, right? This is, if you want to build a team and you want to turn a team into something and you want a model to follow, in my opinion, damn it. Gesticulating, and I yanked the mic. Start the buzzing. In my opinion, anyway, this is what you want. You want your team to look like the Thunder. They can shoot the three, they can play in transition, and they are fantastic on defense. Best defensive team in the league. I mean, suffocating does not begin to explain what they do. It reminds me a lot of what Minnesota was doing last year, but way better. Way better. The active hands today, knocking balls away, getting turnovers in the third quarter. The Clippers were absolutely stunned. They didn't know what to do. They were absolutely out of sorts. I mean, they went from moving the ball well, being fluid with the ball, getting good looks, driving to the lane, driving to the rack, to pockets picked left, right, and center in the third quarter. I mean, the Thunder were all over them like a wet blanket, like stink on you-know-what. I mean, it was just, you couldn't help but be in awe of what the Thunder were doing. I mean, Brian Seaman and Jim Jackson were like, this is just remarkable. I mean, it is overwhelming and spectacular as far as the defense that the Thunder play. I don't know if they will win the NBA championship, but 13-game winning streak after beating the Clippers today, they should absolutely be the favorite, in my opinion, to win the NBA title. Let's see what the odds are to win the NBA championship. Sorry, I got to fix my butt again. There we go. Promise not to run into the mic anymore. See what FanDuel has to say about the NBA championship betting odds. By the way, tonight's episode of the Locked On Clippers POSTCAST brought to you by FanDuel. The Celtics, being the champs, are the favorites still. Thunder are second at plus 350. All right, I get it. That makes sense. I don't know. I haven't watched a lot of Celtic basketball. I haven't watched a lot of Thunder basketball, but I've watched them a few times this season, and every time they're just so deep, so well-rounded, so well-coached, moving the ball. They just make great passes upon great passes. They always find the open man. They make it look so easy, kind of like the Clippers were doing in the first half. Lots of assists. They talked about it coming into the game. This needs to be a high assist game. About halfway, 3/4 of the way through the first quarter, they had 10 baskets with 7 assists. Then early in the second quarter, 14 baskets with 10 assists. So the game plan that they set forth with, got to have a lot of assists, got to move the ball. They were doing it, and it was working. In spite of Norm Powell going over. So this Thunder team just suffocates you. BC disagrees. We'll talk about what BC has to say about my assertion that the Thunder will win the title right after the break. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. Thanks for listening. You can also download the podcast wherever you find your podcasts on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. And when you go to YouTube, if you have a tough time finding us, if you're somebody who listens, you go to youtube.com, Locked On Sports LA, and then look for the live tab. That's where you'll find us here with the Locked On Clippers postcast. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Clippers postcast is brought to you by Game Time. If you love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy, you've got to check out the Game Time app. The energy and excitement of live events, concerts specifically, is second to none. You know, going to sporting events to me is one of the reasons I love this job, because it's just so much energy. And like I've said this before, the thing I liked about working for ESPN in LA was being at the center of the sports world on a regular basis. Now, it wasn't always the center. New York, there were other cities that on occasion were the center of the sports world for that day, for that week, whatever. But quite frequently, LA was the center, and every night the event that you were attending was different, and every night was unique as you compare it to the prior night. And that's because of the energy that you get when you go to live sporting events. And if you're looking for a deal on getting tickets, sometimes people feel like it's out of reach for them. Going to games is just something I can't afford. Well, I always say when people look at me and say, hey, can you give me some free tickets? And I go, not anymore. I used to, but I don't have that connection anymore. I always point them to the Game Time app because it's made getting tickets so affordable and easy, because they have great seats at great prices. You have a view from the seat. They have Game Time picks where they curate what's the best deal going on in the market right now. They also give you discounts if you wait up like 1 hour before the game. They will knock percentages off, sometimes up to 60% off a ticket if you wait till 1 hour before the game. And as I've said many times, the thing I love most about Game Time is the view from the seat. So you know exactly what you're getting when you buy the ticket. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, Clippers trying to put a lid on this one. It is now officially over. Thunder win it 116-98 after the Clippers led by as many as 16 in the first half. Thunder pull away in the third quarter, a 42-20 third quarter. Fourth quarter ended up 26 apiece, where the Clippers kind of saved a little bit of face, but the turnaround from a 16-point lead to a 20-plus point deficit was 44 points. That is the tale of two halves, to say the least. Well, BC says there is no chance the Thunder win the title. No chance, BC? Let me guess. Because the Lakers were going to win the title, right? BC, a huge Laker fan, by the way, in case you didn't know. To say that there's no chance, I got to disagree with you on that. Like, what makes you think there's no chance? Because they're so young? I mean, have you watched the Thunder? How can you say there is no chance? They fill it up from beyond the arc. They play defense. Defense wins championships in the NBA, right? You can't outscore everyone every night. You got to play defense. And this team plays defense. Tops in many, many categories. Here's all the categories they lead in defense. Defensive rating, steals, opponent shooting, where they keep the opponent below 43. Clippers were at 46 tonight. They average 11 steals a game. How many do they have tonight? Probably more. 11, which is the league lead. And there's a couple more categories in there as well that I missed when they put the graphic up. But this team is just remarkable on defense. To say there's no chance that they can win the NBA title, to me, doesn't. Look, are you going to say it's because they don't have a star? Wrong. They do. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a star. That dude averages 30 plus. He fills it up. 29 tonight after an off first half. Jalen Williams can shoot the deep ball. He can fill it up as well. 8 of 14 for 18 points. Hartenstein's a load. I thought Zoo did a nice job dealing with Hartenstein tonight, backing him down. But at the end, Zoo had just 11. 5 of 9. How many turnovers? Just 2. It seemed like a lot more. Norm Powell, 6 turnovers. You don't see that from him. Yeah, the turnovers, again, an issue for the Clippers. In total tonight, 19 turnovers. Not going to win a game with 19 turnovers when the opponent has 9. So, yeah, I don't know what makes you think that there's no chance for the Thunder to win the title other than your Laker myopathy, because they have absolutely got a chance to win the title. They're going to cruise to victory in the Western Conference. There's nobody that can hang with them. Yeah, Grune D, Thunder or Thinder, as you put it. Yes, I am talking about the Thunder winning the title, not the Clippers. I do not believe the Clippers can win the title. They might have a nice playoff run if we ever get Kawhi Leonard back on the floor. I feel like there is hope for the Clippers. I feel like this new team is still trying to get to know each other. When you see what they did in the first half, Derrick Jones Jr. showed up, played well. Kevin Porter Jr. was even better in the first half. His numbers ultimately turned out to not be so hot, 3 of 11 for 11 points. But he was kind of running the offense there in the beginning, and it was nice to see. I felt like he's capable of that. But in spite of some good defense, they were still lazy closing out at the arc. That's been a problem for them. And then in the third quarter, they just got suffocated by the Thunder. At the half, Porter had 10. Coffey had 9. He had a nice game, kind of filling in for James Harden, getting some more minutes off the bench. No, he started, actually. 35 minutes, 10 of 14, 6 of 8. Finished with 26. So a fantastic game for Amir Coffey. You give that guy time, he's going to take advantage of it. He really does. Occasionally, he'll show up and lay an egg. I guess everyone does. Norm Powell did it tonight. 1 of 11 for 6 points. 4 of his 6 came at the free throw line. 0 for 5 from beyond the arc. So let's get to the bucket list. We found 4 very nice baskets tonight. Amir Coffey got the first one in at number 5. He had a 3 at the 145 mark of the third. It made it a 26-20 game. Part of an 8-0 run for the Clippers for number 4. Kevin Porter Jr. had a sweet layup came on a nice pass from Jordan Miller. Tried to dunk it with the right hand. Got some contact from Hartenstein, I think, or whoever was there in the lane, and he switched it to the left hand and made a nice little layup, which was a fantastic play. For number 3, Coffey had a 3 at the 10:55 mark of the third. That made it 55-52. And from there, really, the Thunder just started to pull away because they came out just running and gunning in the third quarter. I mean, they came out with a completely different approach, attitude, aggression. Everything about what they did in the third quarter was like their coach chewed them out in the locker room at halftime. For number 2, or we'll call it number 1, Chris Dunn hit a 3 at the 4:35 mark. Tried to get the Clippers rolling a little bit, get them back into it. They weren't quite dead at this point. It was 79-65 OKC, but as I said, by the end of the third quarter, the game was over. Clippers were sloppy with the ball. The Thunder were revved up, focused, active hands, knocking balls away, picking pockets. It just was suffocating. The Clippers looked and felt overwhelmed by the pressure. They just couldn't deal with it. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that they didn't have their leader in James Harden on the floor. They didn't have somebody to run the offense. That was another big part of it. I don't think Norm Powell's that guy. As I said, Porter Jr. was running the offense for a good portion of the time in the first half, but he didn't quite have that same energy in the second half. And really, they just seemed discombobulated without a point guard running the offense in the second half, and that was a big part of this loss. They didn't exactly say why Harden missed the game, other than to keep him from himself, was the way it was described. So maybe he was dealing with some sort of nagging injury. But again, it started okay for them. They went 0 for 3 and then 7 of 8 from there. And most importantly, for a good portion of the first quarter, no turnovers. I think they had 2 at the end of the first quarter. They started getting a little lazy with the ball in the second quarter. I think they had 7 at the break, but they were shooting 47%. 38 from beyond the arc, and they held OKC to 40 and 30. By the end of the night, they shot 46% from the floor, 34% from beyond the arc, while OKC was 50%, 36%, 80 from the line. Clippers again struggled at the line at 64%, going 11 of 16. Now 19 and 14, make it 15 after this 116-98 loss to the Thunder, a 44-point turnaround for OKC, who is now 28 and 5. They've won 13 in a row and are 15 and 2 at Paycom Center there in OKC. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel, the place to hang out when every game is done. We appreciate you allowing us to be your source for your team every day. Tonight's episode of the Locked On Clippers postcast also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with one game to go. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet is a winner. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up wins. You can decide over-unders. You can decide how many touchdowns you think a player is going to score, how many touchdowns a quarterback will throw, etc. There's these prop bets are available for you on FanDuel, and that's one of the things that you can do that makes watching a game a lot more exciting. And of course, the live bets also available to you there on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Not only can you bet on who will win the game, but on FanDuel, they also have bets for which player will score the touchdown, how many points each team will have, so much more. Visit FanDuel.com to join today. FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Clippers get smoked in OKC here, 116-98, the final, a 44-point turnaround as the aggressive defense from the Thunder was just too much for the Clippers when it was all said and done. And that third quarter really just turned things around, and the Clippers did not have an answer. 19 turnovers in all. When you look at that second half, I don't feel like there's much to take away from that game and say, well, that was good. The first half was good. There was lots good there. 12 points off turnovers, though, in the third quarter and into the second half. That just got worse. Is 12 turnovers equaling 16 points. Sorry, I stated that wrong. That was about the 7-minute mark of the third. The Thunder were causing turnovers and turning them into points. And, you know, that's the tale of the second half and ultimately the tale of the game, that the Clippers got sloppy with the ball. They didn't have any answers offensively. And, you know, when you look at the first half and say, yeah, there was a lot of good stuff going on there. The ball movement was good. The defense pressure was good. It was a little bit lazy at the perimeter, but it wasn't that big of an issue. Again, at the end of the day, the Thunder shot 36% beyond the arc, 14 of 38. So it wasn't like they were completely lights out, and nobody really went off. I mean, their leading three-point shooter was Dort, who had 3. Gilgeous-Alexander had 2. He was 9 of 17 and 2 of 5 from beyond the arc. Jalen Williams, 1 of 3, had a plus 33 in this game, scoring 18 points. So, you look at the third quarter when everything went south for the Clippers and say, how much of that is on their energy, their sloppiness with the ball, their lack of ball movement? How much is on them, and how much do you credit to the Thunder's defensive pressure? A lot of that had to be forced. I mean, the Clippers didn't have the ability to respond to it, deal with it, adjust, but some of it is on them. It's unfortunate, unforgivable a little that Norm Powell had one basket. That's kind of surprising. Like, what was going on there? How does this guy, who's the leading scorer on the team, make shots with hands in his face, off balance? I mean, he is always ready, willing, and able to score, but not tonight. That to me is a complete head scratcher. I don't know what was going on. It didn't seem like he was dealing with any issues. It just seemed like he was unfocused and sloppy for whatever reason. He was just falling all over himself. His looks were bad. His shots weren't even close. Fumbling the ball. Again, 6 turnovers for Norm Powell. You don't see that from him all that much. So there was just a lot of things that were good in the first half that went to crap in the second half. So you look at this game and you try to find a silver lining and take something away. I guess what you could take away is, hey, we're capable of it. Even with James Harden out, here's what they're able to do. Now we got to string it out and play this way for 4 quarters and learn how to deal with that kind of defensive pressure. So maybe they need to come up with a different look to deal with that pressure. Obviously, the ball movement was stifled because of the Oklahoma City pressure, but you can't just start playing ISO ball, taking bad looks. You got to keep, fighting the good fight, I guess. So that's hopefully something they can take away from this game and say, hey, what do we learn from this loss? Let's try to make it positive and say, that kind of defensive pressure is something that we did not deal with well, and we need to improve upon that. But the first half, Oklahoma City they were vulnerable. They were human. In the second half, they were above that. They were far from human. They played that game at a different level, and it was it's frustrating as a Clipper fan. At the same time, it was impressive to watch. I will say that. 116-98 the final. Let's hope the Clippers are a good defensive team, 5th in the league with defensive rating. So they're capable of doing that when healthy, especially when they get Kawhi Leonard back, if that ever happens. I'm assuming it will happen at some point because he's playing down in San Diego for the San Diego Clippers. I can't imagine that's where he's going to be spending the rest of the season. So, again, my prediction has been first of the year, so let's hope it's in the next week or so, at least by the end of January. It can't be too far into February or March. There's not going to be enough time to get him integrated into the offense. I know he's a great player, but it's tough for anyone who doesn't have time with a bunch of guys he's never played with, like Porter Jr., Jones Jr., Chris Dunn. He's got to get out there and play with those guys, and that's got to happen sooner before later. Hopefully, it's right around the corner. They are back home at Intuit Dome on Saturday to face the Atlanta Hawks before heading out on the road again for a couple of tough ones against Minnesota and Denver. So we will talk after Saturday's game against the Hawks. Of course, that will tip it into it at 7:30. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Clippers fall. Wasn't pretty. 116-98 in Oklahoma City to the Thunder. They are now 19-15 and falling down the Western Conference ranks. We will talk on Saturday. I'm Pete Fox. It's the Locked On Clippers postcast on the Locked On Sports LA YouTube channel. The place to hang out when every game is done. Don't forget, you can also download the podcast wherever you find your podcast on the Locked On Clippers podcast feed. Talk to you on Saturday. Take care. Have a good night.